You didn't get angry when it happened. That's what still confuses you, isn't it? You didn't scream. You didn't cry the way people cry in movies. You just went quiet. Something inside you stepped back, took one long look at the person in front of you, and started rearranging every memory you had of them. And weeks later, months later, maybe even years later, you're still rearranging. If you're an INFJ who has ever been betrayed by a friend, a partner, a family member, someone you trusted with the softest parts of yourself, you already know that your version of betrayal doesn't look like anyone else's. It doesn't sound like anyone else's. It doesn't heal like anyone else's. And that's what this video is about. Not the betrayal itself, but the specific, quiet, almost invisible way your mind processes it. There is a name for what you do, or at least a psychological framework that comes close. But before we get to that, let's name the phenomenon itself, because most INFJs go through this without ever having the language for it. When most people experience betrayal, the emotional response is loud and immediate. Anger, confrontation, tears, a phone call, a fight, a very human, very visible unraveling. The event happens, they react, and the reaction is proportional to the wound. That is not how it works for you. For you, the moment of betrayal often passes in near silence. You might feel a flicker, a strange coolness in the chest, a small distance opening up between you and the person you're looking at. You might even keep smiling, keep talking, keep functioning. The people around you don't notice a thing. But inside, something enormous has just begun. Something your conscious mind isn't even fully aware of yet. You are rereading the entire relationship. Every conversation, every gesture, every promise, every small inconsistency you dismissed at the time. Your mind pulls them all out of storage and starts holding them up to the light again. This time with new information, and the pattern that emerges is often devastating, not because of the betrayal itself, but because of how much of it you now realize you already knew. The psychologist Carl Jung described introverted intuition, what MBTI calls NI, as a function that perceives through time, not linearly, not in the moment, but by weaving impressions across months and years into a single, coherent understanding. Jung believed this function operates largely beneath conscious awareness, surfacing only when it has finished its work. Which means, for you, betrayal doesn't happen at the moment of the act. It happens later, sometimes much later, when your NI finishes assembling the full picture and finally hands it to your conscious mind. That is why you can seem calm during the event and completely devastated 3 weeks after. That is why you can forgive someone in the moment and then 6 months later feel a coldness toward them you can't explain to anyone. Your system was still processing. And here's what makes your version of betrayal different from almost every other type. You don't just process what they did. You process who they were the entire time. You process the version of them you believed in. You process your own perception. You process the fact that you didn't see it, or that you did see it and didn't listen to yourself. You process the loss of the future you had quietly imagined with them in it. For most types, betrayal is an event. For you, it's an excavation. And this is where the exhaustion comes from, not the anger, the excavation. Roy Baumeister, the psychologist known for his research on self-regulation and moral psychology, has written extensively about how the brain treats broken trust. His work suggests that repairing or reevaluating a relationship after betrayal requires enormous cognitive resources, what he called ego depletion. The mind has to do the exhausting work of holding two contradictory truths at once. The person I loved, the person who did this. Most people resolve this by choosing one. They decide the person is bad and they leave. Or they decide the act was a mistake and they stay. The mind picks a side because holding both is too costly. But your NI doesn't let you pick a side. It insists on holding the entire, complicated, contradictory truth. It shows you the good in them and the harm in them at the same time. It refuses to simplify, which is why when you finally do withdraw, when you finally close the door, it is not because you have decided they are evil. It is because you have finally, completely seen them, all of them, and you know with a certainty that goes deeper than logic that you cannot unsee it. This is what people misunderstand about the INFJ door slam. It is not impulsive. It is not cold. It is the final, quiet exhale after months or years of holding a truth your system already knew, but was still confirming. And there is grief in it. Always. Because you don't just lose the person, you lose the version of yourself that trusted them. You lose the future you had quietly built in the corner of your mind. You lose the story you were telling yourself about who they were and who you were together. And this is the part that no one warns you about, the grief of your own perception. You will replay conversations and wonder how you missed it, or wonder how you saw it and stayed anyway. You will question your own instincts. You will wonder if you are too trusting, or too naive, or too willing to see the best in people who were not offering their best. But here's what I want you to hear. Your NI didn't fail you. It saw the pattern in real time. You may have chosen to override it because you loved them, because you wanted to believe, because your Fae cares deeply about the people in your life and does not want to accuse without proof. That is not naivety. That is a specific kind of integrity. You gave them the benefit of the doubt because that is who you are. And they betrayed the benefit of the doubt. That is who they were. Those are two different failures, and only one of them is yours to carry. The way you process betrayal, slowly, silently, thoroughly, is not a weakness. It is not you being unable to move on. It is your system doing the work most people never do. You are not just healing from what happened. You are updating your entire internal map of that person, of yourself, and of what you now know about the world. That work takes time. It takes silence. It takes a kind of stillness that other people mistake for coldness or distance. Do you know what it really is? It is the sound of your inner world reorganizing itself around a truth it can no longer ignore. And when the work is done, when the last piece of the pattern falls into place, you will feel something shift, not forgiveness necessarily, not closure in the way self-help books describe it, just a quiet knowing, a settling, a sense that you finally understand what happened and who they were and who you are becoming on the other side of it. There is no rush here. Your system works the way it does, and it doesn't need fixing. If you're in the middle of this process right now, if you're still rearranging, still excavating, still holding the contradiction, I want you to know that what you're doing is real work, invisible work, but real. And it makes sense that you're tired. If this gave you language for something you've been carrying quietly, you might find more of that here. This channel is a slow, reflective space for the kind of processing the world doesn't always make room for. A quiet place for deep minds.